We always love when we can check in with the Florida Aquarium. And I feel like this morning we're kind of pulling back the curtain, going underwater a little bit more in depth this morning, and finding out about their latest coral research, which they have been doing for quite some time. Joining us this morning, Emily Williams, a biologist there, joining us from the lab, I should say, or I don't know, where do you call where you're joining us from this morning, Emily?
We would call this the lab. Yeah, this is our Project Coral lab where we have a lot of our induced spawning systems for our coral.
So I know that this has been a really kind of a passion project for the Florida Aquarium for quite some time. Talk about why coral, let's start here with why coral is so important, obviously, to the ecosystem, and why you and your team are really researching and spending a lot of time in, doing what you're doing there.
So coral is really important, especially here in Florida, because coral reefs are essential to the life in the ocean. They are the rainforest of the sea, and corals are the animals that build that reef. Without live, healthy coral reefs will slowly degrade and eventually go away. So having those live, healthy coral animals continuously building that reef is really important to maintain those healthy ecosystems and maintain our healthy oceans.
So we're looking at the video here. Tell me a little bit about what you and your team are currently doing, because it's, from my understanding, obviously the coral is struggling here a little bit in our area, correct?
Yes. So one of our major focuses is to rescue species that are really heavily affected by a new disease here in the Florida reef tract that can wipe out anywhere from 70 to 90 or 95% of corals that it infects. So we were able to partner with Florida Fish and Wildlife here in Florida to rescue a lot of those species. And one of those species are here behind me, the Diploria labyrinthiformes, a grooved brain coral. And those are the larvae that you're seeing on this video. So we were able to cryopreserve sperm from the colonies that we have here in the lab and fertilize it with eggs from the wild. And vice versa, we got sperm from the wild and crossed it with eggs from here in our lab. And that'll help improve the genetic diversity of the species here in Florida, which is really key to their survival, especially if they are going to adapt to our changing environment and new diseases.
All right, so forgive me for asking some silly questions. Is the goal then to, once you have this kind of created in the lab, to put it back in the ocean and hope that it will then, continue to flourish and grow? Absolutely.
So once we create these larvae that you saw in that video swimming around, we settle them here in our facility, in our greenhouses. And once they get a little big enough, we give them a bit of a head start. So these guys will grow here for about a year, and then they'll go out onto the reef. So all of our babies that we produce here will eventually go out onto the Florida reef tract and hopefully restore them to their former glory.
So my next question then, what is damaging them in the first place, and can we prevent, here all this work has been done to bring this back to life. How can we make sure that it doesn't happen again?
Exactly, that's a great question. So there are a lot of things that are challenging for coral reefs here in Florida. Anything from climate change, rising ocean temperatures can stress them out and even kill them. Water quality and pollution is a big factor as well, and habitat destruction, development of coastal projects and dredging and things can disrupt coral reefs. So without protecting those environments and preventing pollution and mitigating climate change, ultimately there is not much we can do. So having all of those environmental factors included in our restoration is a big factor. Because we can put out as many babies as we can, but unless those environments are happy and healthy for them, ultimately they won't survive. So we really need community engagement and support to help keep our reefs healthy.
How common is the research that you're doing? Are other teams doing this across the United States, around the world? Is this something that's, been going on for several years? Is it new?
Absolutely. We have a lot of partners across the country and even across the world. We were lucky enough to partner, as I said, with Florida Fish and Wildlife for this rescue project. And we have partners in our AZA facilities across the country that are housing corals just like we are. We're in a unique position where we're close enough to the keys that we are able to put the babies out a little bit easier. We have a little bit easier access. But without those partners also housing individuals, we wouldn't be able to keep the population alive, because there just aren't that many left in the wild. They can't reproduce on their own in the wild anymore.
Wow. I love that you're a biologist. Any advice, for future generations of biologists, certainly a female biologist. I love that as well. We have less than a minute left, though. What's your advice? I'd imagine that we need more people doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and it can seem a little bit intimidating because there are a lot of problems and it seems like a really big issue, but my biggest advice is to just do whatever little things you can, even, skipping the straw, or, bringing your reusable bags, or trying to maybe ride your bike if you are going somewhere, and try to eliminate as much waste and emissions as you can. Just do little things can add up. It doesn't have to be a full life-changing experience. You don't have to dedicate your life to this. You can just do little things, and every little bit helps.
We've been showing the website there. Is that the best place to kind of keep track on the project and see how it's going?
Absolutely. Or you can follow the Florida Aquarium on Facebook and Instagram. We share a lot of videos of our babies and all of our animals at the aquarium. So you can either go to the Florida Aquarium's website or follow us on social media.
All right, so you officially can be called a coral mama. I like it. Thank you so much. We really appreciate all that you and the team are doing, and certainly for joining us this morning to give us an update.
Thank you so much.